Good morning and welcome back to Planet Doug, and this video, as you can tell, is going to be another little bit of an unusual one. The last video that I posted, I talked mainly about my trip to Jakarta to meet up with some Planet Doug mystery benefactors who presented me with some amazing gifts, including a brand new laptop. And most of that video I was talking about the laptop, which is the Asus TUF Advantage A16 Gaming Edition. So that's the name of the overall laptop, but basically it's an Asus TUF, T-U-F, A16. And the 16 comes from the fact that it has I keep pointing and looking in this direction because it's sitting on my lap right now. It has a 16 by 10 inch screen. So it's a little bit of a bigger, beefier laptop just because it has such a large screen. And it is a gaming laptop, but as a gaming laptop, it has a very powerful CPU and GPU combination because gamers need their laptops to be able to process high-end graphics very, very quickly because they're playing video games. And that combination, this particular Asus TUF, the A16, is a 2023 model, and that version came out with a Ryzen CPU, the 700 series or 7000 series, combined with a Ryzen GPU, and that combination is very powerful and suited for editing video, editing 4K video. I'm having my morning coffee, and so yeah, in my last video I was talking about that laptop, and I just showed some pictures of my trip to Jakarta because I hadn't gone on any particular trips other than traveling to Malaysia, then flying to Jakarta, and I didn't really record a lot of that on video. So I just showed some pictures and I told the story, and I just wanted to give an update about the laptop because there were a couple of cliffhangers. I had a couple of issues with the laptop when I was setting it up, when I turned it on for the first time. So I just wanted to give some feedback about the laptop, what's going on with it now, and how is it working as a video editing machine, things like that. So again, I'm just sitting on my hotel bed early in the morning, drinking a cup of coffee, and I'm going to tell you the story of my laptop. Planet Doug Studios, by the way, is looking pretty crazy once again. I'll take a picture of I just took a picture of what's going on in front of me, and then I'll show you what it looks like. I've got my GoPro sitting on a chair there, sitting on my bed. And there's a lot of traffic noise coming in from outside. You might hear some fan squeaking noise and other things like that. But yeah, that's how I'm recording myself right now. So let's start with the cliffhanger. After I set up the laptop, I had a problem with Windows in particular, that when you turn on a laptop for the first time, it walks you through the setup process and just tells you what to do, basically. It just says, do you want to choose your region, things like that. You can make a choice, but normally you're not making any choices. You're just saying next, next, next. And it installs Windows, and it turns on the laptop, and it downloads all the updated versions of all the system files, all the drivers. It goes online. You've got to connect to Wi-Fi. It looks for the latest versions of everything, what has been updated, and then it downloads everything and gets everything ready to go. But then when it was done, I got an error message saying that technically I wasn't allowed to use my copy of Windows on this laptop. It said, it said you need to activate Windows. Windows has not been activated. And I started doing the usual research into that. And after I did all the research, I got the messages saying that this copy of Windows has already been installed on another device. And that license, you can only use it on one device. Therefore, it's not allowed to be used here. And then it brought me down a whole bunch of rabbit holes. One error message said, no. You have a license for Windows Home, but you've installed Windows Pro. So you have to uninstall Windows Pro and install Windows Home, and then the license will be activated. But I went, no, I don't believe that, because this laptop is supposed to come with Windows Pro. Not, to be honest, it doesn't make any difference to me. I looked into it, and Windows Pro doesn't have any features that I need. It's more for a business environment with a large company or something. They would use Windows Pro. For me, I think Windows Home would be fine. I don't think Windows Pro offers any advantages. But anyway, I understood that this one had Windows Pro. So I don't even know how to uninstall Windows Pro and install Windows Home. I don't know how to do that. And I figured I'd just screw everything up. So I didn't trust that error message either. And then I just left it alone. A friend of mine who knows a lot more about computers told me that, well, it doesn't even matter that Windows hasn't been activated. It will still work. It will do everything that Windows is supposed to do. The only difference is that you're going to constantly have this message on the screen telling you to activate Windows, which is a bit annoying, because even if you're editing video, whatever you're doing on your laptop, there's always this message across the screen reminding you that you have to activate Windows, and it never goes away. But anyway, I left it for a few days, left it for quite a while, because I just thought maybe it would just resolve itself when you turn off the laptop and reboot it, stuff like that. I thought maybe it would just activate at some point, or I would figure out the problem. And I talked about that, but then my mystery benefactors watched that video, and they saw this problem I was having. So they contacted the computer store where they bought the laptop for me and talked to them. And it turns out, according to the story that came back to me, that one thing my mystery benefactors did was upgrade the memory. So it came with an SSD drive installed, maybe 0.5 terabyte or 1 terabyte, I can't remember. But they removed that 1 terabyte SSD and put in 2 new SSDs that are 2 terabytes each. So they upgraded the memory to 4 terabytes in total on 2 separate SSD drives. And for technical reasons I don't understand, doing that required them to reinstall Windows. And they installed a new copy of Windows Pro. So the laptop came with Windows Pro pre-installed, but I guess it was on the SSD drive that they removed. And then they put in new SSD drives and then reinstalled Windows Pro, but they didn't reinstall the one that came with the laptop. I don't know how this works, but anyway, they had a copy of Windows Pro and they put it in, but they did not provide the product key of that copy of Windows. So my mystery benefactors got that product key. It's a 25 character number, quite a long serial number basically, and he sent it to me by email. I input it. There's a very, very simple button in the computer settings where it just says change product key. Clicked on that, put in the new product key, boom, it was updated. It was activated. So everything is fine now. Everything's fine with the laptop. Everything is up to date. Everything is good. Let's continue with all of the good things. So once I had everything activated and everything was going, I've been on quite a learning curve with this laptop. Much more going on with this type of laptop than I realized. I didn't know much about gaming laptops. I just assumed they were just a more powerful version of a regular laptop, bit more power, bit more rugged, maybe a little bit of a different keyboard layout. But other than that, I just assumed they were laptops. Because this one, because it has a GPU installed, it requires a lot more power to run it, and it produces a lot more heat. So the power system is beefier, bigger and heavier, and then it has 2 separate fans and a very heavy-duty cooling system to get rid of all the heat that it produces. So there's 1 fan for the GPU, 1 fan for the CPU, and then there's air vents all over the place. And because there are so many air vents, they also had to move the ports around to make room for the vents, which I wasn't aware of. That doesn't make any difference either, except physically, I instinctively reach to certain parts of the laptop. Oh, that's where you plug in the earphones or the USB-C drive or USB-A, that kind of thing. But they're all in different locations because they had to move them around to accommodate this cooling system. So I've been learning that. There's been a couple of birds right outside. They're in the window of my room. It doesn't have glass, it just has plastic. And they're either fighting or they're just really good friends. Anyway, they have a lot to talk about up there. So you hear this, a lot of chirping going on. It's the first time I've seen them. I've been hearing all this chirping, but I didn't know where they were, but I can see them in the plastic now. Anyway, I learned also that it actually has two ways of processing graphics. This came out of nowhere. I didn't know anything about this. And when I was talking to friends of mine about various laptops, and people recommended this one for me in particular, this never came up, so I didn't know about it either. It has two processing systems, an APU and a GPU. And I had to look this up because I'd never heard about this, but it has a GPU, that's the big powerful one that I've been talking about, and it stands for Graphics Processing Unit, but it also has an APU, which I think stands for Accelerated Processing Unit. So APU, GPU, and the GPU is the separate unit, the one that has its own, has 8 gigabytes of its own memory built into it. It has its own cooling system, its own power delivery system. So it's a big, beefy thing, a separate GPU unit. The APU is integrated graphics processing. So I think everybody in the world, like a student laptop, for example, most laptops will come with integrated graphics. If you don't need to edit 4K video, all you're doing is normal computer stuff, you don't need a GPU, and this integrated graphics works fine. So it turns out this laptop has both. Even though they added the GPU, it still has the integrated graphics, which in this laptop they call APU, Accelerated Processing Unit, and it's built into the processor, built into the motherboard. It's built into something that's in the laptop already. And it turns out that this particular laptop has an automated switching program. So this kind of surprised me. I downloaded DaVinci Resolve to test editing video, and then as soon as I launched DaVinci Resolve to start editing video, the whole laptop, I could feel it. It kicked into a higher gear. I got a message on the screen that said, we are now switching from APU to GPU. They're basically turning on the GPU. And I was like, whoa, I thought it was on all the time. But no, the GPU only gets activated when it's required. And the program is smart enough, all these built-in systems, to know when you need the GPU and when you don't. I don't know if you can manually turn it on. I can't think of any situation where I would ever need to do that, so I'm happy to let the laptop make the decision for me, because it just basically works. And so when I started editing video, then you can feel the laptop kick into high gear, basically, and the GPU turns on, it becomes activated, and now you're drawing extra power and you're getting all the power of the GPU kicks into high gear. And then as soon as you finish editing video and you exit from your video editing program, the whole laptop just powers down, basically. It's like the Terminator kind of powering up. It's like, gonna edit video now. All this power comes out. Then when you're done, it shuts down again. It's like putting your car into 5th gear. You're driving along, and then you're driving at 20 kilometers an hour. You don't need all the power of the engine, so you're in 2nd gear, 3rd gear, and you're just humming along. But as soon as you go into 5th gear and you want to go 100 miles an hour, you go into 5th gear and you take off. And basically, when the laptop turns on the GPU, it's like it's going into fifth gear and suddenly turning on all this power. So yeah, I didn't know about that at all. And it has all kinds of other features I had to learn about that I guess gamers like to control everything to do with graphics. And this laptop comes with a program called Armoury Crate. And Armoury Crate is like a separate control system. So normally with Windows, you've got, the control panel, system settings, and I know how to access all of that. But on top of that, this one also has Armoury Crate, which is a completely separate program that monitors everything the laptop is doing, right down to the fan speed. There's 2 fans, and it gives you the RPM of each fan. Not only whether the fan is running or not, but how fast the blades are spinning. You can see the RPM. And then even the GPU, which comes with all this extra power, it has power levels. So all this time that I've been testing it and using it, I've just been in standard mode, which is the default. But if I needed more, it actually has more to give, which is hard to believe. There's more power under the hood if I need it. And then I forget the names of it, but you can go up to like ultimate power, standard power, econo mode, things like that. So you can control the settings of your GPU and tons and tons and tons of information. So that's Armoury Crate. I had to learn about that. The APU, GPU, I had to learn about that. I have a couple of notes here. Yeah, that's kind of it. Other things I've had to learn, there's a number of things I don't understand. So for example, with a laptop, I'm used to just closing the lid and it goes to sleep. And I did that with, I had the Asus VivoBook for a while. I don't have that one anymore. And it took 8 minutes to boot up. So I didn't want to shut it down and reinstall, turn it on every single day, because it just took way too long. So I just put the laptop to sleep, and that just became a habit. And I've been told by people that nowadays, with modern laptops, Windows and everything is so sophisticated, you don't need to reboot the laptop every time. It could just go to sleep, and then you just close the lid and you're done. You can wait 10 hours until the next morning, raise the lid, and the laptop turns back on. It goes to sleep rather than a full shutdown. So I was doing that with this one, but I've noticed that it stays warm. So even though I just close the lid, it doesn't really go to sleep. And I got an error message about that, something from Armoury Crate that said, oh, the laptop did not go into sleep mode, therefore Armoury Crate had to fix that, and they did something else. And I don't know what's going on with that. So basically, yeah, last night I wasn't thinking, and I just closed the lid, and then I left it. And then when I grabbed it this morning, it was quite warm on the bottom. It's like, whoa, so this thing, something has been running all night. And of course I don't want that. So there's something different about the sleep modes that I haven't been able to figure out. So I'm gonna have to dive into that. But now, yeah, basically I think it's better with this laptop to just turn it off, like to power down and reboot it fresh every time. And that isn't an issue because it has so much processing power. It boots up instantly. So that's not a big deal at all. So yeah, I'm on a learning curve with quite a few things on this laptop that I wasn't really expecting. All I think stemming from the fact that it's a gaming oriented laptop. And I'm not a gamer. I don't think I've ever played a single game on a laptop or on a computer. All I've ever done in my life was the old Snake game that you used to get on your smartphone. I played that once or twice just to see what it was like, but I just don't play games at all. So I don't know anything about gaming laptops, but that's not important. The important thing is, how does it edit video? And that has been a surprise, a good surprise, unbelievable surprise, because this whole thing about this laptop, the main goal was to be faster at everything. And this laptop is so fast, it blows my mind. Unbelievable. I started off doing a test with just copying files, because normally if I go out shooting with my GoPro, at the end of the day I could have anywhere from 30 as much as 90 gigabytes of video I need to copy in order to start editing them. It's all on memory cards in my GoPros, and I need to copy the 90 gigabytes from memory cards onto external hard drives or onto the laptop, whatever is going on. And this laptop is a huge advantage over my older MacBook system, because the MacBook system didn't have enough memory. It had a very, very small SSD drive. I think it was 256 gigabytes. So there wasn't enough room once you load in the operating system, everything else. There was very little left over for editing video, and I had to constantly juggle. I had to keep copying files off and on the laptop onto external drives to make room for new files, and then I try to export the video, but there's not enough room in the hard drive to accommodate the export, so I got to find. Anyway, it was a lot of work, and it would take me the whole evening to copy the video files. So I would come back from shooting video and then I'd sit down, and the whole evening would be dedicated just to charging up my batteries and then slowly copying the video files. It would take like 2 hours to do that. You put in one memory card and I would copy, paste, and it would say, oh, it's going to take 1 hour to finish copying all these video files. And then the laptop, that's all it would do all night long, is just copying the video files. With this one, for one thing, it has a 4 terabytes of SSD memory, more memory than I could ever need. So that's amazing. I don't have to mess around with any external drives at all. So I can access the full power of the laptop. And I plug in the memory card reader, and I can copy like 60 gigabytes in, I don't even know how quick it happens, like 2 minutes. It happens so fast, I haven't even really timed it, because I plug it in and I say, okay, what time is it? Click, copy, paste. And then normally I would go make a cup of coffee, hang out for a while, an hour later it might be done copying. But this one I hit copy, paste, and then I go to take a sip of coffee and it's already done. I mean, it goes that fast. So copying and pasting files is irrelevant now. It takes no time at all. And then I started doing some editing video tests, and I just loaded sample video into my DaVinci Resolve timeline, and I tested 1080p video, and I tested 4K video, and the speed in which it could do everything blew my mind. I started off, I think, with 2 hours of video, like 2 hours of 4K. I can't remember what the frame rate was, whether it was 25 or 50 for that video, but it was 2 hour long video, full 4K, and it was done in less than 20 minutes. And then I would do like an hour long 4K video, less than 5 minutes to export. An hour long 4K video, and if I did that on my old MacBook, it would take about between 10 and 14 hours. So I would start exporting at night, like 6 o'clock at night. I would say, okay, export the video. And then I would just set it aside and let it work all through the night and into the next morning, the next day. And then it may or may not finally finish exporting the video. This one, like I said, an hour long 4K video, 5 minutes, and it was done. It was unbelievable. I was expecting it to be faster, but I honestly had no expectation of it being that fast. Not only that, I was doing all this testing, and it didn't even occur to me that I hadn't adjusted anything. All I did was turn on DaVinci Resolve up and install it, imported the video, and I started working on it, and I hadn't changed anything. So the video in DaVinci Resolve was being displayed in 4K, and it just flowed like butter. But on my old MacBook and other things that I've used, I have to adjust everything. So even if I was editing 4K video, the laptop couldn't show 4K video at all. So what I had to do was take my timeline and lower it to like 720p, and then even after 720p, I had to set it to 1/4 resolution for a proxy on the timeline. So basically the video was showing at like 240p, which means all you get are little squares. You just get little pixelated squares. You can't really even see the video because it can't show it. Can't even show it anything above like 240p. And my old MacBook, when it was exporting that video, it couldn't do anything else. It took all of its power just to export video. And I couldn't write an email. I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't surf the internet. I couldn't do anything. It basically had to, once I started exporting, I took the MacBook and I set it aside, and I'd leave it there for 14 hours to work. But in all of those 14 hours, I couldn't do anything else. I had to wait until the laptop was finished. This one, I wasn't even thinking about it. As I said, I loaded up 2 hours of 4K video and I was editing it, and oh, it's displaying in 4K. I didn't change the timeline resolution. I didn't set any proxies. I didn't do like 1/4 proxy resolution, nothing like that. I didn't have to do anything. You import 4K video, it displays and it edits in 4K. Even at full screen, it just keeps playing. It doesn't stutter, it doesn't freeze, it doesn't do anything like that. The audio doesn't go out of sync with the video. Nothing happens. And it took me a while to even realize that that was happening. And instinctively, while I was exporting video, I just kind of took my hands off the keyboard, like, okay, don't touch it because it's busy working now. It's exporting video, and don't mess around with it. Let it do its work. But that mindset came from other laptops that I've used. And then in this case, I suddenly realized, oh no, I think I should be able to just continue working elsewhere. And it turns out that while it's exporting 4K video, it's only using a fraction of its available memory and power. So I can do whatever I want. If I need to make thumbnails, I need to open up graphics like photo editing programs, I can just open them up. Oh, I need to listen to this audio. Oh, I can start playing audio. I can work on an audio file. I can work on a photo file. I can open up as many programs as I want, and I can have Google Chrome running with 18 active tabs, 18 different websites open and running at the same time. I can do anything I want, and it doesn't complain. It has no issue at all. So that I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that was a possibility. Anyway, I put the laptop on my lap because I thought I would be showing it all this time. I haven't shown it once, have I? But yeah, everything I was talking about, there was no need to demonstrate anything, but at least I should show it at least once in this video. So there it is, the Asus TUF A16. As you can see, very large screen, has a 90% screen to body ratio, so very narrow bevels all the way around. And yeah, working on it has been a dream. It really has been. The way the screen looks, the size of it, the speed of it, the power of it, everything has been a bit of a revelation. So there it is, the Asus TUF A16. And yeah, all positive from that point of view in terms of editing video. No issues at all with it. The only things that are missing that I didn't think about is that it does not have a fingerprint scanner. But I mean that's just a bonus feature if it had like biometrics. But this particular model doesn't have any biometrics, and I never even thought about that. But these days, a lot of systems, everything online is switching over to biometrics rather than opening up an app or logging in with a password. Everybody wants you to use pass keys and biometrics. So I'm often being asked for biometrics, like if I do anything on my phone, and my phones, of course, all have fingerprint scanners, but this laptop doesn't have one, so I can't take advantage of biometrics. And if anything ever asked for biometrics, I don't, maybe I can do facial recognition, but I don't think this laptop can even do that. I think that's something you have to install. So it doesn't have biometrics built into it. And then the one thing that did surprise me was that the speaker quality isn't that great. And I really noticed it when I first turned it on, because I was used to the Asus VivoBook and the MacBook before that. And they both had pretty good audio, I think. I know the MacBook did. It sounded great. And so I was doing all of my video editing just using the speakers in the MacBook. And if I was watching a movie or doing anything, like a YouTube video, I didn't use the MacBook to watch movies, but if I was watching a YouTube video, I just used the speakers on the MacBook, and it was loud enough. But on this one, for whatever reason, the speakers aren't loud enough. Maybe they're designed for a quiet room. Maybe gamers have their soundproof gaming studio or something, but I'm out in the real world. I've had this thing outside in noisy environments, and then here, like in this room, the air conditioner, the fan, the traffic, the fighting birds, there's a lot of noise, and the speakers can't produce enough volume, and it's hard to hear them. So I've gotten in the habit of using earphones, particularly when I'm editing video, which in a way I'm starting to see it almost as an advantage, that it's forcing me to use earphones, because no matter how good the speakers are, it's never going to be as good as listening on headphones or even earphones. So you really, if you're editing a video, if you're a professional YouTuber, you shouldn't be using the laptop speakers anyway, to be honest, because you're not hearing the actual audio. You're hearing speakers, which are tinny and low and not that clear or crisp. You really should be using earphones anyway. So this laptop is kind of forcing me to really hear the audio and listen to it clearly. It's forcing me to use earphones. But yeah, it is a little bit of an issue, because I do like to be, like if I'm editing a video and I have it playing, I like to be able to get up if I have it sitting at a desk and then walk over to the kettle and plug it in and still hear the video playing. But as soon as I move away from the laptop, it's like, oh, I can't quite hear it anymore, because the volume is really quite low, which is a bit of an issue. And as a gaming laptop, I never even thought about it, because I just assumed gamers require powerful graphics, a really nice screen, and I assumed they would really demand the best audio, because sound effects are such a huge part of games. But I guess gamers always use headphones anyway, right? All the gamers I've ever seen, they're always on headphones. So maybe that's why for the gaming laptop, they just said, we don't really need to boost the audio that much. So yeah, a couple of things that I've learned about this laptop. And I think that is it for laptop talk. And I'm going to end the video with just a little bit of a personal update, I guess. The main thing was just to tell you about the laptop. I think I left people hanging with my cliffhanger about Windows activation. I just wanted to tell everyone that I fixed that and I have the laptop up and running. But I've had a typical Planet Doug adventures. Normally I would tell these stories in a behind the scenes video, but since I'm doing this special Planet Doug video, I'll include a couple of stories here. The main one is I had to apply for my Indonesian visa extension, and I got in trouble again. Indonesia, I don't know what's going on here. They make things a little bit difficult for people, especially for people like me who like to stay long term. But visitors coming to Indonesia seem to face more barriers than visitors going to neighboring countries. And this has been so disappointing to me, where a couple of years ago, Indonesia put on an online system for applying for your visa on arrival. Like normally you just show up at the airport, you go to the office, the visa on arrival window, you pay for your visa on arrival, then you go to immigration and you can get 30 days. But then they created a website and you could apply for your visa on arrival online. And the big advantage to that was you could also extend it online for another 30 days. And when I came into Indonesia this time, my plan was to do that, of course, 30 days on arrival, and then all I have to do is take out my phone. I don't have to go to an immigration office. The old system, you had to physically go to an immigration office, and you'd have to go there at least 3 times. And in my case, it often took 2 weeks. It was a 2-week process before you finally got your 30-day extension. It was a real problem. So the last time I did it, I got the VOA 30 days, the visa on arrival, and then I extended it online, and it was amazing because I could do it on my phone. I didn't have to go to the office, and I got the extension instantly. Within a couple of minutes, I applied, submitted, paid for it, boom, I have my extension, 30 days. You don't have it stamped in your passport, but you do have it online, and immigration can see it in your online computer record. So that's what I was doing this time. And then I was in the city of Medan here in Sumatra, working on the laptop and a special project or two for Planet Doug. And I was getting close to my visa expiring. We're heading into the Christmas holidays, so I'm worried. So I'm applying early for my visa extension. I went online. I had a lot of trouble with their website. I won't go into that at length. Maybe I'll tell that whole story at length behind the scenes. We'll see. But so I got it done. I applied. I paid for it, and then I was waiting to get it because I got it within 2 minutes before, and I waited and waited and waited and waited, and it's been many, 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 many days since, and I'm still waiting. Turns out, Indonesia, in their wisdom, they decided that this efficient online extension process is like, nah, we don't want that to be the way we work. You know, that's not how we work here in Indonesia. So no more people just applying and getting their extension right away. So what they put in a brand new policy this year that an immigration officer has to manually review every application for a visa extension. So my application online is now sitting in a queue in some immigration office, waiting for an immigration officer to physically get around to it. I don't know how many of these applications they get, but apparently it takes them a very long time to look at them. And I'm assuming that in the immigration department, it's not like one person. I've seen how they operate, and it has to go from desk to desk to desk until it finally gets to the boss, and then they have to sign off on it. So even if somebody looks at my visa extension application right away, approves it, well, now it has to go onto his supervisor's desk and then sits on their desk for a week until they get around to looking at it, stamping it, and then it goes up to somebody else. So whatever is going on in the background, now when I go to my immigration my account, I have an online immigration account for Indonesia. Whenever I go there now, I can see my visa extension application, and it says waiting verification. So I figured that out, and I tracked it down. After a few hours, I found it, and it just said waiting verification. And that panicked me because I thought there was something wrong with my application. And then I did the research, and then I discovered that there's a new policy in Indonesia that they have to manually approve every application for a visa extension. They have to check all your documents or something. And now basically I'm waiting, and I'm still waiting. And when I did a little bit of online research, I found quite a few other people facing the same problem. And it turns out a lot of people, they get the 30-day visa, and a few days before their visa expires, they apply for the extension, because you have to before your current visa expires, but they never get the approval, and then their visa expires, and now technically they're in Indonesia illegally. If anyone ever checks their passport, there's like, oh, your visa's expired, and yet you're still in Indonesia, because they're still waiting for the online approval. And people say weeks go by and they never ever get the verification. So that's one reason I was still stuck in Medan, because when you apply for the online extension, it goes to the local immigration office. And when I first saw waiting verification, I assumed there was a problem, that they're going to have to see me. I'm going to have to go into the office and then provide more documents, go in for an interview. All these things do tend to happen to me in Indonesia. And then so basically you can't leave Medan. I thought if I leave and I go somewhere else, as soon as I arrive in another city or another region of Indonesia, I'm going to get an email from the Medan immigration office saying, oh, we need you to come in for an interview. And I got to go all the way back to Medan. But then eventually I just couldn't, I didn't feel like waiting any longer. And yeah, so I did leave. I hopped on a train and I came back here to Tanjung Balai. But I still don't have my visa extension. And my original visa is going to expire soon, and I don't have the extension yet. And according to the stories I've read online, I could easily be in the situation where my current visa expires and I still don't have the extension, which I don't like that feeling. So anyway, I'm a little bit sitting on pins and needles right now, waiting to see what happens with my visa. But yeah, Indonesia can't seem to help themselves. They put in place a fast, efficient online system, and then they says, let's put a human in the middle of that, and now let's make it slower and less efficient, and let's make it really, really difficult for any visitors that come to Indonesia. They just, I don't know, it's just what they do, it appears. They make everything more difficult. Like these things, yeah. Anyway, that is the story of my visa, and I keep waiting for the email telling me I've been approved, but oh yeah, I'm back in Tanjung Balai, which is a little bit of an issue because Wi-Fi doesn't reach my hotel room, so I have to use mobile, and with all this cement, even mobile internet doesn't really reach my room. So if I ever want to do anything online, I have to go out. I have to go outside. But maybe I was going to check. I was going to log into my immigration account and see whether it says waiting verification, but I won't. I have to go outside to do it. But I'm pretty sure it's still going to say waiting verification. And now we're going to move into the Christmas holidays. All the offices are going to shut down. They're not going to be processing anything anymore. So yeah, it's a bit of an issue. So that is what is happening on Planet Doug. Getting to know my new beast of a laptop, which I'm enjoying very, very much, and waiting for a visa extension, which I seem to always be waiting for visa extensions. It's part of my life. So that's it. Update from Planet Doug. I hope everybody's getting ready for the Christmas holidays. I'm not a big holiday guy. Christmas here in Sumatra, I'm not even going to notice. I think the only way you even know that it's Christmas here is if you go to the shopping malls. Like even here, the shopping mall will probably have a Christmas decoration, some sort of a display, and they're going to be playing Christmas carols over the speakers. But here in Tanjung Balai, my favorite town in Sumatra, they don't have a shopping mall. On the train coming here, I was sitting, one of my seatmates was a young Indonesian woman who spoke English quite well, and we had a nice long conversation. And she's from Tanjung Balai, and we were talking about Tanjung Balai and what it's like, why I find it interesting as a foreigner, and as someone who lives here. She did think she would prefer not to live here. She'd like to move to Medan. And we started listing all the things that Tanjung Balai doesn't have. And to be honest, I never thought about it from that point of view. I think about it from what it does have. Interesting street life, great friendly people, the rivers, the fishing boats, the markets. It's an interesting town for a foreigner. But what it doesn't have, I never even thought about it before, it doesn't have one shopping mall. None. No shopping malls at all. Doesn't have a bookstore, doesn't really have a computer store, doesn't have a camera store. It really doesn't have anything like that. So you could roam all around Tanjung Balai and you're not going to know that it's Christmas. Because as I said, in order to know it's Christmas in this part of the world, you pretty much have to go to a shopping mall. And Tanjung Balai doesn't have one. So for me personally, if I'm still here in Tanjung Balai for Christmas, there is not going to be anything special. It'll just be a day like any other day. But for people out there, I'm sure it's a very special time of year. So I hope you're gearing up for the holidays and getting ready for Christmas, spending time with your family and enjoying time with friends and family and all the good things about Christmas. So Merry Christmas to everyone out there in the world. And this is me on a bit of a Christmas-less Planet Doug for now, signing off, and I'll see you in the next video.